Jamal West, a respected and successful lawyer, starts his day like any other. A resident of an upscale neighborhood, he prepares to leave home, dressing in an impeccable suit and carrying his leather briefcase. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. As he steps into his luxurious car, a symbol of years of dedication and hard work, Jamal reflects on the challenging cases that await him at the office. He starts the car and drives through the tree-lined streets of his neighborhood, feeling confident and ready to face another day of work. However, he has no idea that his routine will be abruptly interrupted by an event that will change the course of his life. As he drives, Jamal thinks about his family and the values he has always upheld, unaware that in just a few minutes he will face a situation that will test his resilience and principles. As Jamal drives through the city streets, two police officers, Riley and Jenkins, are on patrol in the same area. When they spot Jamal's car, their suspicions are immediately aroused, not because of any infraction he committed, but because of deeply ingrained racial prejudices. Riley, the more experienced of the two, comments on the luxury car and suggests that something might be wrong. Jenkins agrees and decides they should stop the vehicle. Without any plausible justification, they turn on their sirens and signal for Jamal to pull over. The decision to stop him is made quickly, without considering the consequences or the injustice of the situation. To them, a black man in a luxury car is reason enough for suspicion, a mentality that reflects a broader systemic problem. This unjust stop marks the beginning of a series of events that expose the persistent inequalities in society. When pulled over by the police, Jamal remains calm and follows the protocol, pulling over and waiting for instructions. However, Riley and Jenkins approach aggressively, demanding that he explain the possession of the vehicle. Surprised by the tone and nature of the questions, Jamal tries to respond clearly and respectfully, providing his ID and the car's documents. He explains that he is a lawyer, and that the car is his, honestly acquired through years of work. However, his efforts to clarify the situation are met with skepticism and distrust. The officer's aggressive approach makes it clear that their suspicions are not based on facts, but on prejudice. Jamal realizes that he is being judged not by his actions or words, but by the color of his skin, a painful reality that many face daily. Even after presenting his ID and the vehicle's documents, Jamal realizes that the officers are not interested in hearing his explanations. Riley and Jenkins, determined to justify their stop, begin accusing him of suspicious behavior. The allegation is vague and unfounded, but enough for them to continue pressing him. Jamal, aware of his rights, tries to argue that there is no legal basis for the accusations, but his words are ignored. The situation becomes increasingly tense, with the officers insisting on their prejudiced narrative. Jamal feels frustration building but strives to remain calm, knowing that any reaction could be used against him. The injustice of the situation is evident, but he is trapped in a cycle of discrimination that seems impossible to break at that moment. The situation quickly deteriorates when Riley and Jenkins decide that Jamal must be arrested. Claiming that he is resisting the stop, a baseless accusation, they handcuff him in front of his own house. Neighbors, drawn by the noise and the police presence, begin to gather on the sidewalks, watching the scene in shock and disbelief. Many know Jamal and are aware of his integrity and respectability. The absurdity of the situation is evident to everyone except the officers, who continue to act based on their prejudices. Jamal's arrest becomes a public spectacle, a painful example of how racism can manifest itself blatantly and unjustly. A feeling of helplessness permeates the community, which watches, horrified, as the injustice is being committed before their eyes. Even while being handcuffed, Jamal tries to maintain composure and explain his situation to the officers. He argues that there is no reason for his arrest, that he is simply trying to go to work, and that the whole situation is a misunderstanding. However, his words fall on deaf ears. Riley and Jenkins, determined to proceed with the arrest, ignore his attempts at dialogue. Jamal is placed in the patrol car, feeling humiliated and powerless. On the way to the station, he reflects on the injustice of his situation and the broader implications of being a black man in a society still marked by racism. He knows that his fight is just beginning and that he will need all his strength and resilience to face what is to come. The arrest is not just an attack on his freedom, but also a challenge to his dignity and identity. As Jamal is taken away, murmurs of revolt begin to spread through the community. Neighbors, witnesses to the unjust stop, cannot believe what they have just seen. Many begin to record the scene with their cell phones, determined to document the injustice and share the truth about what happened. The images quickly start circulating on social media, generating outrage and solidarity. The community unites in support of Jamal, recognizing that his arrest is a reflection of broader systemic problems. Conversations intensify, with many discussing the need for change and the accountability of those who abuse their authority. Jamal's arrest becomes a catalyst for a movement of resistance and awareness as the community mobilizes to fight against discrimination and injustice. Upon arriving at the police station, Jamal is led to a cold and impersonal cell where he is forced to wait while Riley and Jenkins process his arrest. The environment is hostile and uncomfortable, with the sound of metal doors closing and the distant murmur of voices echoing through the corridors. Jamal, still stunned by the injustice he has suffered, tries to stay calm and dignified, even in such a demoralizing situation. He reflects on what happened and what he can do to prove his innocence. Although he is in an adverse environment, he refuses to lose hope. Jamal knows that his experience and knowledge as a lawyer could be crucial in facing this battle. As he waits, he mentally prepares for what lies ahead, determined to fight against the injustice he has suffered. Lieutenant Kate Thompson, an experienced and respected officer at the station, receives Jamal's case for review. As she reviews the initial documents and reports, she quickly realizes that something is wrong. Upon conducting further research on Jamal, Thompson discovers that he is a renowned civil rights lawyer, known for his work defending minorities and fighting against racial discrimination. This discovery leaves her intrigued and concerned. She understands that the arrest of such a prominent lawyer could have serious implications, and that the situation needs to be handled with care and justice. The revelation of Jamal's true identity raises questions about the motivation behind his arrest, and leads Thompson to consider the possibility of racial prejudice. Determined to ensure that justice is served, she decides to investigate the case further. Armed with information about Jamal, Thompson begins to piece together the puzzle. She reviews the officer's reports and the evidence presented, noticing inconsistencies and weak justifications. The possibility that the arrest was motivated by racial prejudice becomes increasingly evident. Aware of the gravity of the situation, Thompson decides that a deeper investigation is necessary. She starts gathering additional information, interviewing witnesses, and reviewing security camera footage. Thompson is also concerned about the broader implications of this case, questioning whether discriminatory practices might be a systemic problem within the station. Her determination to seek the truth and ensure justice for Jamal reflects her commitment to ethics and integrity. The investigation she initiates is crucial to uncovering the truth and correcting the injustice that has been committed. As Thompson's investigation progresses, word about Jamal's true identity begins to spread among the officers at the station. Many are surprised to learn that the man in custody is a respected and influential civil rights lawyer. This revelation causes discomfort and apprehension among the police, especially those who know Jamal's reputation and understand the potential consequences of his unjust arrest. Some officers begin to question the actions of Riley and Jenkins, while others worry about the public backlash the case may have. The atmosphere in the station becomes tense, with discussions and murmurs about the need to reassess police practices. Jamal's presence in the cell, now seen in a new light, prompts many to reflect on their own attitudes and prejudices. The situation intensifies, setting the stage for necessary changes. Amid the growing suspicions and internal pressure, Riley and Jenkins are called to a meeting with Lieutenant Thompson. They are questioned about the circumstances that led to Jamal's arrest and their justifications for their actions. During the conversation, both try to defend their decisions, but their explanations are weak and inconsistent. They mention suspicious behavior and resistance, but fail to provide concrete evidence to support these claims. Thompson, with her experience and insight, quickly identifies the flaws in their justifications. The lack of clarity and the evasive nature of their responses heighten her suspicions that racial prejudice may have influenced the stop. The meeting makes it clear that Riley and Jenkins acted hastily and possibly with discrimination, reinforcing the need for a more thorough investigation and corrective measures. As Thompson delves deeper into her investigation, she begins to identify troubling patterns that suggest the presence of systemic discriminatory practices within the station. The weak justifications from Riley and Jenkins, coupled with reports of other similar cases, raise serious questions about the culture and procedures adopted by the police force. Thompson reviews previous records and realizes that Jamal is not the only one to have been targeted by questionable stops. The possibility of an institutionalized problem becomes a central concern for her. Determined to bring about change, Thompson considers implementing mandatory racial bias training and reviewing stop-and-search policies. She understands that Jamal's situation is a symptom of a larger problem, and that only comprehensive reform can ensure justice and equality for all. Her investigation becomes a starting point for a necessary and urgent transformation. While events unfold at the station, the community around Jamal quickly mobilizes in his support. Friends, family, and colleagues gather to protest the injustice of his arrest, organizing vigils and peaceful demonstrations. Social media becomes a virtual battleground where the hashtag #JusticeForJamal gains momentum, attracting national attention. The public pressure on the station increases daily, with activists and community leaders demanding transparency and accountability. The community's mobilization not only highlights the injustice suffered by Jamal, but also exposes broader systemic problems that need to be addressed. The tension grows as the station faces increasing scrutiny, forcing authorities to respond to demands for justice. The community's strength and solidarity become a source of hope and inspiration for Jamal, who sees his case becoming a symbol of resistance and change. Outside the station, the atmosphere is charged with tension and determination. Hundreds of protesters gather, holding signs and chanting slogans in support of Jamal West. The protest, initially organized by local activists and civil rights groups, quickly gains momentum as more people join the cause. Jamal's unjust arrest becomes a catalyst for a broader discussion on racism and systemic discrimination. The protesters demand not only Jamal's immediate release, but also a review of the police practices that led to his arrest. The massive presence of people on the streets attracts the attention of journalists and reporters who begin covering the event live. The situation outside the station is tense but peaceful, with the community determined to see justice done. The protest becomes a symbol of resistance and solidarity, uniting people from different backgrounds in a common struggle for equality and justice. With the growing mobilization of the community, national and local media begin to cover Jamal's story intensely. Reporters flock to the protest site, interviewing demonstrators, community leaders, and civil rights experts. Live broadcasts capture the outrage and determination of the protesters, bringing the story beyond the city's borders. The media coverage places immense scrutiny on the police department, exposing Jamal's arrest as an example of potentially discriminatory police practices. The pressure on the department increases as journalists investigate the history of similar stops and arrests. The narrative expands, highlighting the need for reform and accountability within law enforcement. The media's attention not only amplifies the voices of the protesters, but also forces the authorities to consider the gravity of the situation public opinion becomes a crucial factor, pushing the department to act fairly and transparently to resolve the crisis. Lieutenant Kate Thompson finds herself in a delicate position, torn between her responsibilities to her officers and her commitment to justice. As a leader within the station, she feels the pressure to protect her subordinates, but also recognizes the importance of addressing the allegations of racial discrimination with seriousness and integrity. Thompson is aware that her actions will have significant implications for both the station's reputation and public trust. She carefully weighs her options, considering the impact of each decision. On one hand, she faces loyalty to her colleagues and the need to maintain cohesion within the police force. On the other, she feels the moral responsibility to ensure that Jamal is treated fairly and that the truth is revealed. Thompson's dilemma reflects the complexity of balancing institutional duties with ethical principles, highlighting the difficulty of navigating an environment where justice and politics often collide. Chief Daniels, responsible for the police department, watches the growing crisis with concern. He understands that the situation involving Jamal West has the potential to turn into a public relations disaster that could tarnish the image of the police force for years to come. The intense media coverage and ongoing protests put the department under the spotlight in a negative way. Daniels recognizes that public perception is crucial and that community trust is at stake. He meets with his communications team to develop a strategy that can mitigate the damage and restore public confidence. Daniels also considers the need for a transparent and responsible response, including a full investigation into the circumstances of Jamal's arrest. He knows that ignoring the situation or trying to cover up mistakes will only exacerbate the crisis. The challenge is to find a balance between protecting the department's integrity and meeting the legitimate demands for justice and accountability. Inside the station, the situation becomes increasingly tense as officers begin to split over the treatment of Jamal West. Some, aware of the ethical and legal implications, advocate for the need for a fair and transparent investigation. They believe that the integrity of the police force depends on its ability to acknowledge and correct mistakes. Others, however, feel pressured to defend their colleagues, fearing that admitting to wrongdoing could weaken the authority and cohesion of the team. This internal division reflects the broader tensions that permeate society, where issues of racial justice and police accountability are constantly debated. The discussions among the officers become heated, with arguments about what is right and what is necessary to protect the force's image. The division within the station not only complicates the situation, but also highlights the urgent need to address the underlying issues that led to Jamal's arrest. After carefully analyzing the situation and the available evidence, Lieutenant Thompson makes the difficult but necessary decision to release Jamal West. She recognizes that keeping Jamal in custody would only intensify tensions and further damage the relationship between the community and the police force. Thompson believes that Jamal's release is a crucial step in restoring public trust and demonstrating the station's commitment to justice. Her decision is based not only on the desire to avoid further conflict, but also on the conviction that Jamal was unjustly detained. By ordering his release, Thompson sends a clear message that integrity and justice must prevail over politics and prejudice. The decision is met with relief and support from the community, who see it as a sign of hope and progress. For Thompson, it is a moment of courageous leadership, reflecting her commitment to truth and fairness. Despite Jamal's release, the community remains vigilant and determined to ensure that justice is fully achieved. Community leaders, activists, and ordinary citizens continue to press for a full and transparent investigation into the circumstances that led to Jamal's arrest. They demand that all those involved be held accountable for their actions and that measures be taken to prevent similar situations from occurring in the future. The community organizes meetings, petitions, and awareness campaigns, maintaining pressure on the authorities to fulfill their promises of reform. Jamal's release is seen as a partial victory, but many understand that it is just the beginning of a broader struggle for systemic change. The community's determination to seek justice reflects a deep desire to see a more just and equitable society, where everyone can live without fear of discrimination or abuse of power. The ongoing mobilization underscores the importance of accountability and transparency in building a better future for all. The atmosphere in the meeting room is tense, with Lieutenant Thompson and Chief Daniels sitting face to face, aware of the gravity of the situation. Jamal West's arrest has brought delicate issues of racial discrimination and questionable police practices to the forefront. Thompson, determined to pursue justice, raises her concerns about the integrity of the department and the need for a clear and effective response. Daniels, on the other hand, is concerned about the reputation of the police force and the potential legal and media repercussions. The discussion is intense, with both recognizing that Jamal's arrest cannot be treated as an isolated incident. They debate the best strategies for addressing the crisis, considering both the need for internal reforms and the external pressure for justice and transparency. The meeting ends with the decision to initiate an internal investigation, but the tension persists, reflecting the complexity of balancing institutional interests with the need for real change. After the meeting, Thompson and Daniels agree that an internal investigation is essential to address the allegations of racial discrimination within the station. The decision is seen as a necessary step to restore community trust and ensure that justice is served. The investigation will be conducted by an independent team, with the goal of reviewing practices, policies, and past incidents that may have been influenced by racial biases. Thompson is determined to ensure that the investigation is thorough and impartial, knowing that any attempt to cover up or downplay the issues will only worsen the situation. The decision to conduct an internal investigation is communicated to the community and the media, signaling a commitment to transparency and accountability. However, the task will not be easy, as the team will face internal and external resistance as they seek to uncover uncomfortable truths. The investigation represents a crucial opportunity to initiate meaningful and lasting changes within the police force. With the decision to investigate discriminatory practices, Thompson sees Jamal as a valuable ally in the pursuit of justice. Recognizing his expertise as a civil rights lawyer, she invites Jamal to collaborate in identifying corrupt and discriminatory practices within the station. Jamal, though still shaken by his arrest, accepts the offer, determined to turn his negative experience into a force for good. Together, they begin reviewing documents, listening to testimonies, and analyzing behavior patterns that might indicate systemic corruption or prejudice. The partnership between Thompson and Jamal is marked by a deep sense of purpose and urgency, with both committed to exposing the truth and promoting real change. The work is arduous and often meets with resistance, but their determination is unwavering. The collaboration between a law enforcement officer and a civil rights lawyer sends a powerful message that justice and integrity can overcome institutional and social divisions. As part of the initial steps in the investigation, Officers Riley and Jenkins are suspended from their duties. This decision is made to ensure that the internal investigation can proceed without interference and to signal to the community that the allegations of racial discrimination are being taken seriously. The suspension of the two officers is met with mixed reactions within the station, with some colleagues expressing support for the measure, while others view it as a betrayal of loyalty among officers. For Thompson, this action is crucial in demonstrating that the department is committed to accountability and justice. Riley and Jenkins, in turn, face a period of uncertainty as they await the results of the investigation. The suspension not only affects their careers, but also serves as a reminder that actions based on prejudice and discrimination will not be tolerated. The investigative process continues, with the team determined to uncover the truth and implement necessary changes. As the internal investigation progresses, Thompson encounters resistance from some colleagues within the station, Many fear that the proposed changes could undermine team cohesion and the authority of the police force. Some officers express concerns that the investigation could result in restrictive policies that would make it difficult to carry out their daily duties. Thompson, however, is determined to move forward, convinced that integrity and justice must prevail over resistance to progress. She holds meetings to listen to her colleagues' concerns, trying to find a balance between the need for reforms and maintaining team morale. The resistance, though challenging, also serves as a catalyst for important discussions about prejudice, accountability, and the need for a more inclusive and fair police culture. Thompson continues to lead with firmness and compassion, determined to ensure that the investigation results in positive and lasting changes. Despite the initial measures taken by the station, the community remains vigilant and vocal in its demands for justice and transparency. Activist groups and community leaders organize meetings and events to keep up the pressure on the authorities, ensuring that the internal investigation does not lose momentum. The community demands not only a full review of police practices, but also the implementation of reforms that guarantee fairness and justice for all. The voices of the citizens become increasingly influential, with petitions and awareness campaigns gaining traction on social media and in the media. The community's determination reflects a deep desire to see systemic changes that go beyond superficial solutions. For the community members, the fight for justice for Jamal is part of a larger battle for civil rights and equality. The continued mobilization demonstrates the strength and resilience of a community united around a common purpose. After intense pressure from the community and progress in the internal investigation, Jamal is finally released. His release is met with relief and celebration by friends, family, and supporters who see it as an important step toward justice. However, Jamal is aware that his release is just the beginning of a longer and more complex journey. The situation within the station and the issue of discriminatory practices still need to be resolved comprehensively. Jamal, now a symbol of resistance and change, continues to work alongside Thompson and other allies to ensure that the investigation leads to real and lasting reforms. He participates in community events, shares his experience, and advocates for systemic changes that can prevent future injustices. Jamal's release marks a moment of hope, but also highlights the ongoing need for vigilance and action to ensure that justice prevails at all levels of society. Under Lieutenant Thompson's leadership, the police department initiates a series of deep reforms, starting with the implementation of new training policies. Recognizing the need for systemic change, Thompson works tirelessly to develop programs that promote integrity, accountability, and justice within the police force. The new training policies are comprehensive, addressing not only operational practices, but also ethical and moral issues. Thompson collaborates with social justice experts and psychologists to create curricula that challenge biases and encourage empathy. The goal is to equip officers with the tools they need to make informed and fair decisions in high-pressure situations. Implementing these policies is a crucial step in restoring community trust and ensuring that the police force operates with transparency and accountability. Thompson is determined to ensure that these changes are not just symbolic, but result in tangible improvements in how the police interact with the community. The transformation is seen as a long-term commitment, with the hope that the new policies will establish a standard of excellence and justice that endures for generations. As part of the reforms, all officers in the department participate in intensive workshops focused on cultural sensitivity and de-escalation techniques. These workshops are designed to challenge existing biases and promote a deeper understanding of the diverse communities the police serve. Diversity and inclusion experts lead interactive sessions that encourage officers to reflect on their perceptions and recognize the impact of systemic racism. The training also includes practical simulations, where officers learn to apply de-escalation techniques in conflict situations, prioritizing communication and empathy over the use of force. The goal is to equip officers with skills that help them resolve tense situations peacefully and effectively. Thompson believes that these workshops are essential for transforming the internal culture of the police force, promoting an environment where diversity is respected and valued. Officers who participate in the workshops express a newfound understanding and appreciation of cultural complexities, recognizing the importance of serving and protecting all communities with fairness and justice. Thompson understands that for the reforms to be effective and sustainable, it is essential to involve the community in the process. She organizes a series of meetings and open forums, inviting community leaders, activists, and ordinary citizens to share their experiences and perspectives. Community participation is seen as a crucial element in ensuring that the changes reflect the needs and expectations of those the police serve. Thompson facilitates honest and open discussions, where concerns are heard and considered in the formulation of new policies. This active involvement not only helps build trust, but also ensures that the reforms are relevant and impactful. The collaboration with the community results in joint initiatives, such as youth mentoring programs and community patrols, which strengthen the bonds between the police and the citizens. Thompson believes that including the community in the reform process is a vital step in creating an environment of mutual respect and cooperation. Community participation turns the reforms into a shared effort, promoting a sense of ownership and collective responsibility. Despite the promising reforms, Thompson faces internal resistance from some officers who are reluctant to adopt new approaches. To overcome this resistance, she adopts a strategy of open dialogue and continuous education. Thompson organizes feedback sessions where officers can express their concerns and doubts about the changes. She listens attentively and responds patiently, highlighting the benefits of the reforms for the effectiveness and reputation of the police force. Additionally, Thompson promotes additional training that emphasizes the positive outcomes of fair and inclusive policing practices. She shares success stories from other police forces that have implemented similar reforms, showing how these changes can lead to a safer and more respected work environment. Gradually, through constant dialogue and education, Thompson manages to turn resistance into acceptance and eventually into enthusiastic support. Officers who were initially skeptical begin to see the reforms as an opportunity for personal and professional growth. The internal resistance is overcome, and the police force emerges more united and committed to the mission of serving and protecting with integrity. As the reforms are implemented, the relationship between the police and the community begins to show signs of repair. Through community engagement initiatives and more transparent policing practices, the lost trust begins to be restored. Officers participate in community events, not just as authority figures, but as active and engaged members of the community. These interactions help humanize the police force, allowing citizens to see officers as allies rather than adversaries. The police presence at local events, such as fairs and neighborhood meetings, creates opportunities for meaningful conversations and relationship building. The community, in turn, responds positively, expressing a greater willingness to collaborate with the police on public safety issues. The reduction of tensions and the increase in cooperation result in a safer and more cohesive environment for all. Thompson watches with satisfaction as the barrier of distrust begins to dissolve, replaced by a new sense of partnership and mutual respect. Repairing relationships is seen as a fundamental step in ensuring lasting peace and justice in the community. With a renewed commitment to justice and transparency, the police department, under Thompson's supervision, adopts a proactive approach to investigating cases of discrimination. Each allegation is treated seriously and investigated thoroughly by an independent team. Thompson ensures that the processes are fair and impartial, aiming to hold those who violated the ethical standards of the police force accountable. Officers are encouraged to report any incidents of discrimination they witness, with the assurance that their concerns will be handled confidentially and respectfully. The investigations result in corrective actions, ranging from additional training to disciplinary measures, depending on the severity of the case. The community is informed of the investigation results, promoting a sense of justice and accountability. The fair resolution of these cases sends a clear message that discrimination will not be tolerated and that the integrity of the police force is a priority. This commitment to justice reinforces the community's trust and demonstrates that the reforms are having a real and positive impact. Over time, the community begins to see the tangible effects of the structural changes implemented within the police department. Interactions with officers become more respectful and collaborative, reflecting the training in cultural sensitivity and de-escalation. Citizens report a renewed sense of safety and trust when interacting with the police, knowing that their concerns will be treated seriously and respectfully. Joint community initiatives, such as crime prevention programs and engagement events, further strengthen the bonds between the police and citizens. The reduction of discriminatory incidents and the increase in transparency in police actions result in a more harmonious and cohesive environment. Community members feel empowered to actively participate in promoting collective safety and well-being. Thompson watches with pride as the fruits of the reforms take shape, knowing that the path to change was challenging but necessary. The positive impact of the structural changes is felt by everyone, signaling a more just and equitable future for the community and the police force. Jamal West, now a central figure in the fight for justice and equality, is invited to share his experiences with new recruits of the police force. The invitation is a significant opportunity for him, as it represents not only recognition of his resilience, but also an important step in integrating his visions of equity into future generations of police officers. As he prepares for the lecture, Jamal reflects on his own journey, from the injustice he suffered to becoming an active advocate for reform. He sees this lecture as a chance to positively influence those who will be on the front lines of law enforcement. On the day of the lecture, Jamal enters the room confidently, greeted by curious and attentive looks from the recruits. He begins by sharing his personal story, highlighting the challenges and lessons he learned along the way. Jamal emphasizes the importance of empathy, respect, and justice in all police interactions. His message is clear. Every officer has the power to make a difference and contribute to a more just and equitable system. The lecture not only educates, but also inspires, planting seeds of change in the hearts and minds of the new recruits. During his lecture, Jamal uses his personal experiences to illustrate the complexities and challenges of the justice system. He speaks about the profound impact that discrimination and prejudice can have on people's lives, using his own story as a living example. Jamal emphasizes the need for each officer to commit to justice and fairness, regardless of external pressures or internal biases. He shares visions of a future where police and community work in harmony, building mutual trust and respect. Jamal challenges the young officers to be agents of change, to question unjust practices, and to commit to integrity in all their actions. His approach is direct and inspiring, capturing the recruits' attention and encouraging them to reflect on their role in the justice system. At the end of the lecture, many officers express gratitude and renewed motivation, determined to apply the lessons learned in their future careers. Jamal's presence and words leave a lasting impression, inspiring a new generation of police officers to embrace justice and equality in their daily practices. Jamal's influence and the reforms implemented under Thompson's leadership begin to transform the environment within the station. The place, once marked by resistance and distrust, now becomes a space of openness and collaboration. Officers at all levels feel more comfortable expressing their ideas and concerns, knowing they will be heard and respected. Internal communication improves significantly, with regular meetings and constructive feedback becoming part of the organizational culture. Collaboration between departments is encouraged, allowing best practices to be shared and implemented more effectively. This new atmosphere of cooperation also extends to the relationship with the community, with joint initiatives being developed to address local safety and well-being issues. Officers actively participate in community events, strengthening bonds and promoting a sense of unity and common purpose. The transformation in the station is a testament to the power of visionary leadership and the commitment to justice. The renewed environment not only improves officer morale and effectiveness, but also sets a positive precedent for other stations seeking to implement similar changes. After his lecture and observing the positive transformations in the station and the community, Jamal takes a moment to reflect on the journey so far. He remembers the challenges and difficulties he faced, but also the victories and progress achieved. Jamal feels a deep sense of fulfillment seeing that his efforts, along with those of Thompson and the community, have resulted in significant and lasting changes. However, he is also aware that the fight for justice and equality is far from over. Jamal recognizes that although important steps have been taken, there are still many challenges ahead, including the need to ensure that the reforms are maintained and expanded. He thinks about how to continue promoting awareness and education about social justice issues, both within and outside the police system. Jamal feels a renewed responsibility to continue advocating for those who still face discrimination and injustice. His reflection is not only about the past, but also about the future, with an unwavering commitment to work for a more just and equitable world for all. The strength of the community, fueled by solidarity and the desire for justice, continues to play a crucial role in promoting a more just and equal future. Inspired by the changes already achieved, community members commit to maintaining the momentum and ensuring that the reforms are not just temporary. Local organizations and activist groups work together with the police to develop educational and support programs that address the root causes of inequality and discrimination. Community events, such as awareness fairs and workshops, are held regularly to keep the dialogue open and inclusive. The collaboration between the police and the community results in joint initiatives aimed at improving public safety and promoting general well-being. The community also engages in advocacy efforts, pushing for policies and legislation that support social justice and equality in the long term. The unity and determination of the community are a testament to the power of collective action and the importance of working together to create an environment where everyone can thrive. The continued commitment to justice and equality serves as a beacon of hope and inspiration for other communities seeking change. With the positive changes he has witnessed and the enriching experiences he has had, Jamal feels a renewed determination in his fight for justice and equality. He is more motivated than ever to continue his work, not only as a lawyer, but also as an activist and community leader. Jamal sees the impact of his actions reflected in the improvements within the station and the community, and this reinforces his belief in the power of resilience and persistence. He is aware that there is still much to be done, but he is ready to face the challenges with a strategic and collaborative approach. Jamal plans to expand his advocacy efforts, working with other communities and leaders to promote systemic reforms on a broader scale. He also seeks to inspire the next generation of justice advocates, sharing his experiences and lessons learned. Jamal's determination is fueled by a deep sense of responsibility and an unwavering desire to see a world where everyone is treated with dignity and respect. His renewed energy and commitment are a beacon to those around him, motivating them to join the fight for a more just and equal future. As the reforms and community initiatives gain traction, the city begins to stand out as an inspiring example of reform and social progress. The changes implemented in the police force and the strengthening of community relations attract the attention of other cities and regions seeking successful models to address similar challenges. The city becomes a center of learning and innovation, with local leaders and social justice experts sharing their experiences and best practices at conferences and workshops. The positive transformation is evident not only in public safety statistics, but also in the quality of life of the citizens, who report greater confidence and satisfaction in their interactions with the police. The city's success serves as a powerful reminder that, with visionary leadership, collaboration, and commitment, significant and lasting change is possible. The city becomes a beacon of hope for other communities, demonstrating that justice and equality are not just ideals, but achievable goals. The city's continued progress inspires a broader movement for social justice, motivating other communities to follow a similar path of reform and renewal.